All right, let's go. Second attempt this time. Hopefully everybody's hardware is working. Hopefully everything is going to be sweet. We are, of course, on site Delta for the first game in this best of 7. It is Super V versus Grey Raven. It's going to freak me out if they spawn in the opposite locations now. I'm not going to like it. And they have. So let's hear it for Abby up in the top left of site Delta.
And in the bottom right, we've got Super V.
Alrighty, so I'm expecting shenanigans straight out of the blocks. I've got to be honest, I'm expecting cheese from both sides. Abby looking pretty straight up here. Gonna go her normal style. Her normal style
Definitely.
is gonna be hatch, gas, pull into possibly roaches, but I'd love to see a 12 pull. Evan, are we gonna see an extractor before we? No, we're not.
No, we're not.
So unlikely to be reapers. But
not
we'll
too
see.
Many, but I won't be surprised if we see one coming out. Evan loves his Reapers.
He actually does.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least one coming out to go have a look.
I suspect Evan actually is a Reaper.
There's our hatch for Raven. Not standard timing. Everything looks fine.
I think so. I think we are just going to see a really straight up opening. I think first game always a bit cagey. I think it does take quite a lot of nerve to full-blown cheese in the first game. I reckon third game is when the cheese kicks in. So we'll see. Yeah, this is going to finish momentarily, and the way that is rallied across the map, you'd have to think a Reaper is going to come out straight away. That's pretty standard. And this SCV is coming down onto the low ground, so it looks like Super V wants to get a command center behind this. And there we see it. So that is normal stuff happening. Grey Raven, we're not really going to know what the plan here is until this pool finishes up. I know that she's been practicing with her Ling Ben, which I love to see.
I would really like to see some Ling
because
Ben
historically, all we've really seen from her is those Roach Hydra builds. And don't get me wrong, she does that well. But I want to see some Ben lanes. I'd love to see some Ben lane drops. I'd love to see some Nidus play. It's going to be a handful of Lings out. The safety Lings, if you like, is pretty normal at this stage. She's going to know that there's probably a Reaper on the way.
Something to chase that Reaper would be nice.
And you've got to be able to deal with it. What you don't want is to have to micro workers against the Reaper. Oh, is it going to make it to the extractor? No extractor, Abby! No! So that worker was on its way to build a hatchery, and the normal style there is to just drop an extractor, turn the worker into an extractor to protect it. So, I wonder what the APMs look like here for these pair. We've got current APM, both of them are balling out of control. Look at these APMs going up. So Grey Raven, actually on average, lower than Super V, which isn't necessarily what you'd expect, but APM isn't everything.
No, and I mean, it's early in the game still. There aren't that many actions they can really be taking. I like the Lings waiting there for the Reaper to maybe try and come up the jump. And the Queen sitting there waiting for that Reaper.
Now that the Queen is out, it's hard to get anything done with this Reaper. The important thing for Super V is to keep it alive. Make sure that you don't lose the Reaper, because in about a minute's time is when you want to send that Reaper back in and check the tech. Because in 1 minute from now, Abby's tech will be beginning to take shape. At present, all we see is speed. But in a minute's time, you come up, you see whether it's a lair or whether it's a Roach Warren. And that is telling. At present, not much to see. So, it's going to be Liberator Harass coming from Super V. The plan here is going to be to send that round the edge of the map, bring it into this sort of location, set up a Liberation Zone somewhere about here to snipe a few workers if you can.
I'd like to see the Hellions coming in at the same time there to really push Abby's APM and force her to think about multiple things at the same time.
Yep. Abby is just going to come into this scout, so she sees that there's Hellions, sees what's here. This Overlord is going to go down, though, before it gets too deep. I arguably would have liked an angle from this direction, but... What were you going to say?
Nothing. She didn't see anything.
Didn't see anything. Didn't see any of the tech structures. So, we'll see. We'll see what the Liberator gets done. The only thing Abby's got here that can shoot the Liberator is Queens, and that can be a clunky mechanism. Normally what you'd like to have is a Spore Crawler to see that off. We've got double gas here, not saturated just yet, and of course, as I say it, she sends the workers in. So, Liberator coming in, what are the reaction times going to be like for Abby here? Overlords are in a good position to spot this.
Here it comes. Hellions at the front at the same time. Only 2 workers, 3.
Oh, the workers are lined up for the Hellions. This could go badly. The Lings are here. They are going to get the wraparound, and it's a
10 workers for how many Hellions was that?
It wasn't a terrible cleanup.
4
Hellions and the Reaper is done.
Where's that? Yeah, okay, it's up here in the corner.
Liberator is going to go to work on some
That's
Overlords,
very irritating.
which is slightly irritating, but I think this Liberator is going to... No, Liberator doesn't quite go down.
The Queen gets it. Oh, 10 workers for a Liberator, and was that 5 Hellions? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, so in general, as a Terran, you want to be more efficient than the Zerg. You want your resources lost to be better than the Zerg, because the Zerg will always have more bases than you. At present, that isn't quite true. I mean, 25 resources is just not really enough. So Evan needs to find a little bit more efficiency. Abby's cleanups so far have been decent. The downside is, though, she is at a worker deficit, and that is not good news.
Don't want that. Now, it's interesting, because I don't think Evan has seen this Baneling nest that Abby has bought. So, who knows? This is... he might still be expecting roaches.
That is a lot of Lings.
That is a lot of Lings with a lot of potential for Banelings.
Are we going to see Baneling bust? There's a lot of depots up here. If those go down, will Evan be supply blocked?
Yeah, definitely.
I think he will. That's all the depots, basically. That is a heavy supply block if Bens run into this. This base is reasonably covered by the siege tanks, but if the Banelings get in here, they will pretty much kill everything there. These Marines will definitely not make it in time to deflect speed Banelings. Has speed been done?
No.
No, so Ling speed is done,
There it is.
Baneling speed halfway done. Stimpack about to finish up and just has Combat Shield also finishing up for our Terran player.
And it looks like Hydra's maybe following up here with double Evo.
Alright.
I like it.
Yep, Ling Ben Hydra is classic combo against Terran. This is a pretty good scout actually. So that Overlord loses its life for sure, but it does see this force moving out. That is quite a high medevac ratio. So supply-wise, Evan's supply is a little bit skewed. Those medevacs are supply intensive, so even though his army supply is high, not all of it shoots. Abby waiting to engage here, but she is going to be able to get a wraparound down to cleanup. So yeah, lost 2 queens.
I would have liked to see waiting for that infantry level.
Yeah, interesting to take the engage when you're only seconds away from that upgrade completely. So to KG start, I am a little concerned by the worker deficit for Grey Raven. As a general rule, you need to have more workers than a Terran, because a Terran can drop mules, which makes up for quite a few workers. The Terran dropping mules at present, even workers ahead as well, is a pretty big income advantage. That is disappointing.
Oh, it's that screen that's gone.
Yeah, hopefully it'll come back. I'm loath to pause the game. So, Super V heading up to a 4th base here, and Abby really needs to make sure that she stays ahead on bases, because you don't want to be level with a Terran. You want to be at least 1 base ahead of a Terran. What we've got in here is a little drop. Abby wants to be a bit careful not to pull everything to deal with this. Now, there isn't anything else coming in from another angle, but that would be a pretty standard play to try and pull units out of position with the drop in the hope of then getting some work done elsewhere. On this occasion, though, it was a single medevac. Now, this medevac is going to discover that there are Hydras on the map. And I don't think Evan was aware of that up till now, although at 9 minutes you would expect it. Let's have a quick look at what structures we've got. Hydra Den is down, but there's no Lurker Den at present, so I don't know. I don't know. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'd really like to see Abby need to get a little more active out on the map. This is a little...
I feel like I'd like to see more creep spread. Looks like this Spore Crawler has killed the medevac, so these units are forfeit. But I'm a little concerned by A, there should be more creep spread, and B, there really needs to be a 5th and indeed a 6th base up for Abby.
So
there isn't even a macro hatch in the main, and yeah, we've got 1,500 to 2,000, and we're nowhere near maxed out. Abby just needs more production at present. This move out is going to be tricky. I'm fully zoomed out. Oh, yeah. So stepping onto the edge of creep as a Terran player, if you can avoid fighting on creep, you should. And I'm surprised we don't see a scan coming down to clear up these creep tuners. The creep takes a while to receive, but you do not want to full wrap around if you can avoid it on creep. So Ling's coming in from the back. It's a pretty good engage. The tanks are disappearing pretty quickly. But the supply difference is pretty savage. The army supply for Super V currently double Abby's, and she desperately needs more Benlings, and there's none in production. Abby, Benlings, you've got to have the Bens kept up. These Lings on their own are not going to cut it. The upgrade advantage is big too. These are 2-2 bio units from the Terran compared to 1-1 Lings. Benling's coming in now, but it is a little too late, and too much of this is Marauder, I feel, for these Benlings to get stuff done.
I think this might be it.
Siege tank is going to get cleaned up, but you don't want to use Benlings on that if you can avoid it. The Bens do crash in, but as I say, 2-2 Marauders just will not die to Benlings. Tank goes down for sure, and Abby is now on 2 bases, and I think this is the end. Army supply 113 to 18. It is all done but for the fat lady singing, and it is GG!